Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
Man, what's going on, football fans? It's your boy J.R. Clark, back again with a full crew after a week off last week. We back live once again. Jimmy, what you got for me?
It's your boy Jimbo Dean, a.k.a. Jimbo Slice, a.k.a. Jimmy Obama. Call me anyone you want. But don't call me no damn New Orleans Saints fan. Pound for pound ATL, and the smoke screens is flying all over the place. Terry F. them over the hot boxing. What's going on, Toby?
Yo, boy, hey, as they say, I'm blessed and highly favored right now. Feeling real good about this conversation that's going to go on tonight. We got us a smoke screen. We about to throw out there, too. My feet already burning.
Mike, how you doing, brother?
Hey, smoke screen is right. Because I think Terry F. is putting the fun in Fontenot, if you will. Because, it might be spring break for a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys with kids. Like I am, it might be spring break, but, the Falcons, they're definitely not spring breaking. They got the league. They are the top of the league right now. So definitely got a lot to cover, JR, this week. Look forward to the conversation. Another week to talk to the people.
So let's just kind of like, in a sense, do a little bit of housekeeping because we was off last week. We took a little break in remembrance of the holidays, and but some things popped off as they do. You had probably one of the biggest surprises so far of the draft season. You had San Francisco come from 12 all the way up to 3. They jumped the Atlanta Falcons, presumably for a quarterback. The idea like that we've heard is that they went up as far as they could to ensure that they got who they wanted. Not that they didn't or did talk to the Falcons, what have you. They went up as far as they could go. And we saw that play out just the other day with the Jets trading Sam Darnold to Carolina. Okay? So that right there tells you their intentions, which is to obviously take a quarterback. So now almost guaranteed you have the quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3. So in a lot of aspects, the draft starts at number 4 with the Atlanta Falcons. So that has popped off all throughout the Twitterverse, as you could say, with all of us speculating on what they may do. Not today, I think it was yesterday, you got the confirmation that the Atlanta Falcons are mulling over trading out of the 4th spot, said that they've already had exploratory talks with teams. Now, a lot of times that's code in a sense of everybody's had exploratory talks about their picks, right? Like they do every year. This is nothing new. We had this talks when you had that going on when you had pick number 17 a few years back. You have exploratory talks with moving. It's just when that stuff gets leaked out, that means these people weren't offering enough money or enough compensation, rather, not money, but, draft capital. That's right. That means they weren't getting the type of offers they were hoping for, maybe, or they're trying to, play the salesman game and drive the price up and create some more demand, letting people know, hey, we're open for business, right? Now, earlier today or late yesterday, one or the other, y'all have to remind me, my days start to flow together sometimes. You had a report come out that Terry Fontenot was wanting a quarterback at 4, and Arthur Smith is wanting to keep Matt Ryan for a few more years.
Boy.
Now, some publications are trying to spin this as they're already at odds. I don't know if I necessarily agree that they're already at odds. I will say this, though. It is interesting that Fontenot didn't hire Arthur Smith. The Arthur Smith hire came first. And then Fontenot came. So that is an interesting tidbit to keep in mind when talking about their relationship. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe they both answer to Rich McKay, and we're going to really try to figure out, or we're really going to see how involved McKay still is. Is he just the owner's rep, right? As I have painted throughout this offseason, that Arthur Blank himself is kind of stepping back some. And so now Rich McKay becomes essentially the de facto owner, or at least the representation of the owner. Is that, you know what I'm saying, is that his role? And if that's the case, it is what it is. But I will say this in this opening little salvo here, as we like to do. I am not totally against them having different ideas or different opinions as long as they can come together and work it out. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm not trying to I don't want them fighting, obviously. We've seen how that goes when the GM and the head coach can't mesh. But we have just spent the past, 13 some odd years with the general manager who, for the most part, got the head coaches exactly what they wanted. Right. So I don't mind having a GM that is going to, buck the trend a little bit, I guess you could say, or come up with something different, or at least on the surface. What's y'all's opinions there?
So who
jump in.
I can go ahead, get it real quick. And this the thing right here. When we need to get worried when they ain't having a disagreement. We don't need no yes mans up in the building. We need somebody that's gonna compete with each other. And for them to be putting out there that it's just a disagreement, that's totally false, man. Every 32 teams that got a GM and their head coach is doing the same thing that Arthur Smith and Fontenot are doing right now when it comes to I want this guy, you want this guy. And then obviously at the end of it, somebody else gonna press the button on it. I don't care which one of them won't. McKay or Blank, if Blank done totally stepped away, McKay is ultimately one that's gonna punch the button on it. Right. You know what I mean? I really believe that if they have a similar guy that they want, but look at all these options got, man. That 4 pick is it's almost stressful if you're over there at Flowery Branch. But they not disagreeing. They not butting heads. They supposed to be doing what they doing right now. What's your thoughts, Toby?
I already told y'all. Even with what Arthur Smith said that he would want to keep Matt Ryan, I tweeted this out. I said 4 guys is gonna help Arthur Smith determine this. All right, number 1 is Justin Peele, the tight end coach, who was with Matt Ryan his rookie season up to 2010. All right. Number 2, it's gonna be Dave Brock, and number 3 gonna be Danny Browns, the offensive assistant, and number 4 is TJ Yates. All these guys have been there doing Matt Ryan beginning, middle, and up to the present. Okay, couple that with the film work. Guess what? Arthur Smith is feeling very convinced that Matt Ryan is his guy going into the season at least. Okay, and beyond that. And I said that before. So I'm not shocked that he believes that Matt Ryan still got a few more years left in him. Now, I will say this. Colin Cowherd, the first time I ever heard him really comment Matt Ryan.
Man, I had to listen to that twice because I was like, he cannot be talking good about Matt Ryan.
He actually complimented Matt Ryan as being basically the saving grace of the Atlanta Falcons, and that shocked the heck out of me.
Yep.
And he agrees with Arthur Smith. Now, I know some people don't because they want that mobile, shiny toy who can throw it with a big arm and run to wherever he can run to get the touchdown. and that's fine. They both serve the purpose. Terry Fontenot serves the purpose for the ones that want the quarterback. Arthur Smith serves the purpose for the ones and represents the ones that want to keep Matt Ryan around.
No doubt. I agree completely. Mike, what you got to add to that?
I think that, Toby, you raised some really good points about Matt Ryan. I think one thing I might add is I think you did bring note to, like, these are some favorable coaches for Matt Ryan to really kind of come in, talk with these guys and integrate pretty well, right? So I think that to me is more telling that, Arthur Smith has kind of bought in on Matt Ryan, that he's bought guys around that kind of cater to his skill set. So I think that's kind of point 1 for me. So I think, that's a good high point, right? But I think what I like about Terry, Fontenot and Arthur Smith disagreeing is that when you're in a situation where you're trying to create good ideas and one guy feels one way, another guy feels another way, you're agreeing to disagree. To me, that's where the best ideas come out.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, because you're also
I
having
would
to
say-
defend your position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whether it's Fontenot, whether
Absolutely.
it's Smith, you have to defend. You have to defend your position when you don't agree initially, and you have to be able to prove one way or the other. And look, you also got to keep in mind this is the first time these two guys are working together as well, right? So they're still filling each other out. Okay.
And I think that's why they understand the position they're in because again to be honest with you, these trade rumors, I think if there's one team that the trade rumors are hotter, and that's the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a little bit I would say I would say that will probably be something to watch as far as the Denver Broncos, those guys, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how these next couple of
for
weeks
sure
shake
on
out,
that.
'cause it's-
Now look,
yeah.
a minute ago, Jay Holland tipped us $3.99. Says, "What's up, family? Man, what's going on, Jay?"
Yeah, what's up, man?
All
Long
right.
time.
We're gonna go ahead and get into chat just a little bit because it's already popping. Rose Stockton says, "Rose Stockton says, what's up? What's going on, man?" Philip Bonner also says hello. Jaden Schaffler says hello. Same thing with Reggie. All of our guys are here tonight, and we appreciate y'all all being here.
Yeah, they interesting.
Ghost Pepper says, "What's good, P for P? ATL Dimitrov left Falcons so cat poor." They're waving popsicle sticks around for air conditioning. I'm gonna get into that here in a second because I got right now it is a very popular thing to be just like dumping on TD and the cap situation. But keep in mind, folks, up to this point, the cap had done nothing but go up and up and up and up and up, right? So what TD did was bet on the cap to go up. Now, obviously, he lost his job because the team sucked, made bad decisions. I'm not going to sit here and try to defend him. But as far as the cap went, we weren't necessarily going to be in cap hell until Corona hit. And the cap went backwards instead of doing what it had been doing, right? I was thinking about that today. A lot of people like to look. I'm not going to sit here and try to defend the decisions Thomas Dimitrov made. He made plenty of decisions that left us in the position that we are in, a la every second round cornerback he took. So there's plenty of things that we can pile on him for. All right, so I'm going to keep right on rocking. L. Dean says, "Come on, Terry." Exactly, that's what everybody's saying. Come on, Terry. Rose says he shows a smoke screen. That's definitely what's going. And they're playing it perfectly in that aspect. They are letting you know that everything's open, everything's a possibility. So don't count nothing out. Atlanta GA Faithful says, "What's good, everyone? Atlanta Falcons P for P. Let's go. All options will be explored, and they will agree what's the best." Jimmy, you just nailed it. Exactly. That's what you should be doing.
That's what you got to do.
TW87 says, "If the Falcons draft a QB, they're basically wasting that pick. I'd rather trade back and take Sewell or one of the weapons." Now, I have a thought on that too, and I want to get y'all's. As I have been sitting here just like straight up and down thinking about it, and thinking about the entire situation. I put it out on Twitter last night. I think it was last night. Some like diagrams that I drew up of what I would consider to be the starting offense right now and the starting defense as it stands right now.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and call it, man. That starting defense ain't winning you many games, not with the talent. And so, in that aspect, the team constructed as it is right now. Obviously, we haven't gotten in the draft, right? So there's that. You can still hang that over my head. Unless Dean Pease can come in and just like uncork a genie in the bottle, I don't see where this defense is going to be able to keep you in games, right? That's just my opinion on that. So with that being said, it almost feels like this year is, I hate to say it, a waste. I don't think it's a waste, but it's looking like where we will compete better next year. So, I mean, if you really feel like at the end of next year you're going to walk away from Matt Ryan anyway, Why not take your quarterback this year? Why not set him on the bench like a Trey Lance? There's only really, honestly, for me, it's Trey Lance. If you're going to go this route, then Trey Lance is the one that benefits the most from it. He played all of one game last year. So he's played all of not even a full NFL season yet. Okay. So that's a lot of experience that he hasn't gotten that I think he could use sitting on the bench. If you're going with a plan of, I'm going to have a quarterback sit on the bench for at least 2 years, then it's Trey Lance or nobody else. Because,
Right.
well, my next thought was like, because everybody will bring up Justin Fields, but y'all know and I know that you bring Justin Fields to Atlanta, right in his backyard, his hometown, his home state, the first time Matt Ryan throws a pick, everybody's going to be losing their minds. And then you're going to have to start answering question after question each week of when you're going to put Fields in.
That's what it's going to turn into.
So it's going to turn into a media circus. And I think if you're going, if you make the decision that I'm going to ride Matt Ryan at least 2 more years, but I've also heard the claims that, we may never be up in the 4 spot again. We can get into that in a minute if y'all want to. But,
we need to get into that.
But if that's your ploy, is that in your mind you feel like the Falcons have to have a backup plan for the future, and we won't know when we'll be back up here again. Then you take Trey Lance, you sit him on the bench, and you see what happens after 2 years. You basically pull the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So JR, let me
go
real quick on that one. The NFC South is an urgent division. Like, hey, Sam Darnold, for the guys that think it's funny that Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, it may not be that funny if it works out, fundamentally. So this is a division that, and I'm not saying that, it will or it won't, but, that has to play itself out. All I'm saying is the NFC South is a win right now division. Again, I always say that this is the most competitive division in the NFL right now. I think that, it's very top heavy, even with the Saints still having a Taysom Hill. Like, they don't necessarily have a horrible quarterback or a Jameis Winston. Who knows how that kind of materializes. So the NFC South right now is really not a division where you can just sit here and say, I would say from my perspective that, we'll just go out there and see what happens, because it could really dismantle your franchise if you don't really have a plan of, just clear execution. And I just think that because Arthur Smith is such a situational head coach, I think he'll put us in situations to be competitive because we have the athletes to be competitive. So to me, it's still best player available or defensive guy. We can explore if we trade back the Surtains or the corners, those type of things. I think it's more patches, not big gaps, not potholes, patches, not big gaps. I don't know.
Right.
That's what I got.
And look, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm advocating for taking a quarterback at 4. I just know the more I look at this draft, the more this draft reminds me of the year that Duke Riley and them came out. Like, there wasn't like a ton of star power, right? So it was almost and this is all like fueled by guys who opted out, so you didn't get a good look at them. Your Jamar Chases, your Greg, was it Gregory Rousseau? Did he opt out? Russo, so your Gregory Russos, you know what I'm saying? Had they not opted out, the landscape may look a lot different, right? Like you may have a more clear cut, this is what we should be doing in this draft. But here we are. We have guys opted out. We didn't have a combine. We're having to rely on a pro days where apparently everybody, including me, runs a 4.3. Right, Jimmy, you got to be in a 4 too, because you're a svelte guy. I'm
right, but when I run it, I got to be in my Fruit Balloons track shoes.
Why are we running in our underwear? I don't understand this. Does that make you faster? Is it more aerodynamic to run in your underwear?
I guess so.
Every film I saw, I was like, put some pants on.
I want them full. I want them in full battle rattle, like we like to call it. I want you in your health. I want you in everything. Put your cleats, your
Everything.
gloves,
That's what I want to
wristband.
see.
I want
Everybody.
everything going when you run. But hey, and some of them 40s, people couldn't get out there and measure those 40s. I guarantee you, something gonna come out. But one of them 40s being ran was at 39.5 or 39 and 38 and a half yards. I'm telling you, somebody gonna get caught. Go ahead, Toby, with what you was about to put out there.
The first thing I got to talk about is Trey Lance.
Oh no.
I don't think Trey Lance, if we draft him, will be sitting on the bench. I think Terry is looking at him like a Taysom Hill to start off. The guy can run quarterback draws like nobody else. I don't watch a lot of film over here on the weekend. I got to see what the hype was, man. I mean, the QB draws, he can take them things for 40, 50 yards, okay? And he can throw it. The other thing is Trey Lance, I believe, is going to the 49ers.
I think so.
Okay?
I think that whole Mac Jones, I think that's a big, gigantic smoke screen.
The reason why I say that is because if you look at some of those games, they scheme tight ends wide open versus them single high coverages, just like Shanahan likes to do to attack single high safety coverages. And I mean, it was plenty of times where it's just tight end just wide open. Nobody's on him. Yeah. And he hits, no problem. One of them got called back by a penalty, but it was a touchdown until that penalty happened. So that's why I think Trey Lance fits better with 49ers because he's played on the center. He's already pro ready, despite what people say, talking about his offense was dumbed down. I don't really buy that.
From what I saw, he had a real good command of the huddle, like full on.
Yeah. And they say he's a leader like nobody else. Like this dude can really, and I think that's another strong quality that you want in a guy that can rally the troops, especially your quarterback. Yeah. So if it's anybody, that's who I'm all for the Trey Lance thing. If that happens, I'm a Kyle Pitts, homer. I want Kyle Pitts, but I can understand if Trey Lance.
Now I will say this, and then we're gonna get back here in a chat in a minute. Y'all are dropping some paragraphs, and I like it. So we're gonna get back into this. Don't think I'm forgetting y'all. But the deal with, my big deal with Lance and with Fields is like the amount of like actual game experience, right? And I'm not saying that's something that you shouldn't take them, right? But it's just something that that is kind of like a little exclamation to me or a little asterisk to me. Same thing with Joe Burrow last year, right? Joe Burrow played one season and had an amazing season. I'm always, and I will forever be skeptical of somebody who only puts together one season, of good numbers. Same thing with this year with Zach Wilson. So he had a real good season last year, So if any of y'all watched the think tank on last Monday that I put out about the quarterbacks, the fact that people think we're going to get 4 quality starters out of one draft is okay, there's plenty of people on Twitter who will love to use history of this and data of that to show you why, we need to move on from Matt Ryan or what have you. Well, I did the same thing. I took 20 years of drafting history and showed you why you might not be in such a rush to draft a quarterback. The last time you had 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round that turned out to be quality starters for more than, and what I mean by that is they got a second contract from the team that drafted them. That was 2004 with Big Ben, Aaron Rodgers, and Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. Like that was the only time that's happened in the past 20 years. So the chances of that happening again are real slim is what I'm trying to get at, and it may, in 3 years, we may be sitting there talking about, dang, we should have drafted whoever. And, because that happens too, right? I mean, That's Chicago's kicking themselves for passing on Mahomes, aren't they? And taking Trubisky, who, guess what, isn't on their team anymore. And Sam Darnold, who, guess what, isn't on his team anymore. So just keep all that in mind when we're having the QB conversation. Now I want to jump into some of these paragraphs, if that's all right with y'all. Andrew Bato says, I think we should trade back with Denver. Somebody brought up Denver earlier. I think it might have been Jimmy. It says Denver have Denver include Drew Lock. Now that's interesting. I don't know why.
What?
But that's interesting. At least you'd have a backup, I guess. Because right now we have one quarterback on the roster. So
That's about it.
I mean, that's not a
it's not a bad idea. If they would do it.
Not ideal. Yeah.
Anyway, so Rose says Matt Ryan is the guy right now, but the future will be even better with a young prospect waiting his turn. And that's a concept that we have gotten away from. And I say we, I mean the NFL. Used to, that was the model. The model was draft a guy 2 or 3 years before you needed him. Let him learn, let him mature, and then come in. It actually started really in 2008 with Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan, who both came in their rookie years and won their starting jobs. And from that point on, between that and the rookie wage scale and everything else, they felt like they were tired of paying these guys so many millions of dollars to sit on the bench. So, I mean, we could get back to that. Tony Wright says, Toby D, thanks for the film breakdown on Tennessee left guard Trey Smith. I read the comments where a lot of people liked watching the film on that beast. Now, speaking of film, we may not be able to do as much film breakdown as we've been doing. We've been getting slapped with copyright claims. We actually got one slapped on that particular video. And so we're going to have an announcement around draft time, but you may not see any film breakdown as we try to figure that out going forward. So just give y'all a heads up there. But we like doing it, and we're going to try to figure out a way to keep doing it. So Tony Wright also says, well, fellas, the Falcons' number 4 draft pick is the hottest pick in the nation. As you have heard me say many, many, many times, we have the golden ticket. Exactly. That's what we've been talking about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Now, King 7, who, if I am not mistaken, King 7 is an advocate for drafting a quarterback, says, I can't lie, I really want a quarterback. Okay, see, at least I was right there. That'd be bad if I was wrong. Anyway, really can't lie, I want a quarterback. I think the Falcons should trade back with the Broncos and just get Pitts. The kid is a beast, and he has some Megatron-type stuff, just a monster. My only fear there is that at 9, he may not be there. Right.
He will not be there. No, may not.
I mean,
will not. He will not be there.
What goes better with a young quarterback if you're the Bengals than a monster of a tight end, especially when you lost A.J. Green? I mean, they would have a hard decision between Sewell and Pitts at that pick.
And Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and Jamar Chase. No, you're right. You're 100% right. Let's see. Millie Mills says, he says, so he can get sacked every down. We're forced to put MR2 back in. And that's another thing. Like, you put in a rookie quarterback right now with the potentially patchwork offensive line that we have, like, you could ruin the kid. I mean, if he gets sacked too many times, Matt Ryan's been in the league long enough, he can handle 40 sacks, at least mentally. Physically is a whole nother ball game, but at least mentally he can handle 40 sacks. He may not turn into, what'd y'all say, y'all call Sam Darnold Mr. Seeing Ghosts or whatever?
Seeing Ghosts.
He's seeing ghosts, boy.
He said in the middle of a game, Jay, like you bleed in the middle of the game.
Ghost Pepper says, Colin Cowherd on Twitter said, Matt Ryan last 4 seasons, 107 touchdowns, 44 interceptions, 66 completion percentage, 96.3% passer rating. He's the only thing saving Atlanta. Do you know what you could get for that number 4 pick? Ghost Pepper follows that up. Well, no-ish. That's the thing.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you something. If you let Matt Ryan get out there on them blocks, you're going to have teams out there fighting in the phone booth over him. I can name at least 15 teams right now today or drop everything they doing.
Jimbo.
Come after that man full steam ahead.
Jimbo, it was already reported that the phones was ringing off the hook when the other quarterbacks were getting traded, and they had to turn people down and let them know, hey, that door is closed. We ain't trading out. All right, so that tells you right there.
Don't you
know? And I got something to say on that too, because a lot of people, they must don't understand what Arthur Smith is looking at. Now, Arthur Smith is already going to be calling the plays. Do you know how beneficial it's going to be to have a guy that can run that no huddle? Okay. That takes so much pressure off of you and allows you to be able to head coach that team when you got a quarterback you can trust that has ran about every system in the NFL known to man who watches the NFL right now.
Yeah, no, you did up.
Come on.
Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, because you're right. That's a control. Toby, that's a great point, man. That's a control thing because you're right. You think about Arthur Smith, from an offensive standpoint, calling the plays. You're right. Having a field general like Matt Ryan does.
Man.
But I like that, Toby D. That's a great take, man. That's going to be an interesting partnership to watch, just how they work, because I do think Matt Ryan is at his best when he does have more control of the offense, and you don't have an offensive coordinator trying to force his agenda as opposed to playing to the quarterback's strength. So, it's the little things, because you're right. In this league, it's a league of details. I think that's another important detail that we can't let slide by the wayside as we get closer to the season. Jimbo.
And I wish we can deter away from putting all the attention on MR2 and really dissect and look at this team as a whole. The way he's getting jumped on for some reason, I have no clue. And thank God Colin Cowherd came out and said whatever he said, but we been knew this over here at Pound for Pound ATL. So him and Fox, whatever, do whatever you got to do. But I wish we can look at the whole team as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? I put out a tweet where Matt Ryan in the last 2 years done lost 11 games when he don't score at least 20 points or more. Now, that ain't got nothing to do with him. If any other team defense can have 20 points, I bet that Washington football team wish they had a quarterback that could put up 20 points a game. The guy only play on one side of the ball. So it seemed like the majority is kind of looking at one guy instead of the whole team. Well, that defensive side of the ball, and you don't even want me to get fired up about that, is straight up trash can dumpster fire.
Right.
We only got a couple people that stand out on that. One of them was a rookie last year. What kind of defense is that? Now, I don't even want to get, like I said, I'm trying not to get fired up about it, but that defense is atrocious. That defense is trash, and we need to fix it. At point blank, period, man.
And now it's like, I'm gonna read this statement, but I want to get in what you were talking about there, Jimmy. King Seven says y'all keep saying Matt has no O-line. Neither does Russell Wilson. Matt Ryan has more weapons than Russ, and Russ has more touchdown throws. Can y'all explain this, please? Yes, King, I'll give you an easy explanation. Russell Wilson can move around and extend plays better than Matt Ryan. People have different skill sets. Okay? Like,
and sorry to cut you off. Top two, like Russell Wilson is not only good at doing that, he's probably in the league at doing it.
Hold on. Stop for a minute.
Keep going.
I gotta cut both of y'all off. And sorry, not sorry. I saw a stat on Matt Ryan. He was in the top 5 for evading pressure. That sounds like a guy that can move around to me. And that's in there with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. By the way, I can tweet that stat out later on tonight after we done.
Yeah, and you can also, King, as well. Look, I get it. I understand. Like, I truly do understand the allure of wanting a quarterback that can scramble, a quarterback that can move, throw on the run, all that stuff. Our next quarterback, I really hope he's that kind of a quarterback, like full on. Like, I think those are good things. I think those are things that I want in a quarterback. But what I'm getting at is, like, you bring up that Russell Wilson has thrown more touchdowns. Yes, but he's also spent his entire career running for his life. And that is a major topic of conversation, and obviously a major topic of frustration with Russell Wilson as it stands right now in Seattle. You see what I'm okay? So, but I wanted to get back to what you were talking about a second ago, Jimmy, with the defense. I mean, we can say all we want to as many times as we want to that, Ryan's only had a top 10 defense one time in his career. And the most other time it's been like well below average. But think about it like this. The last few years of Mr. Brady up in New England, everybody was, Father Time had finally caught up with him, and, everything. He was looking slower. The ball didn't have as much zip on it. Well, two things had changed. His O-line and his defense. Those two things had changed. Okay?
Right.
He goes down to Tampa. ready-made team that had an amazing defense and had an offensive line that was tops in the league. I tweeted, like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I tweeted out the stat lines from 2020 of Matt Ryan and Tom Brady. The major difference between Matt Ryan and Tom Brady was sacks and touchdowns thrown. They almost mirrored each other in the reverse, right? like Tom Brady threw almost as many touchdowns as Matt Ryan got sacked, and vice versa. So how many times had it been possible for Matt Ryan to potentially score another touchdown had he had a better O-line? And I'll straight up say it like this. A few years back, Cam Newton playing in Carolina, I said, it may have been on one of the shows back then, that their GM was extremely smart for drafting 2 extremely tall wide receivers. Because when Cam Newton missed, he missed high. Okay? So he drafted Devin Funchess and Calvin Benjamin.
Calvin Benjamin.
Right. 2 look like 2 oak trees out there running. And for a few years it worked. Okay? They tried to build the team towards the strength of Cam Newton, at least for a year or 2. Why wouldn't you do the same for the quarterback that you have? Like you know that he needs for the most part a clean pocket. I think it was Orlando Ledbetter tweeted out the numbers of Matt Ryan when he had a clean pocket versus when he didn't, and it's astronomically different. So why wouldn't you focus on building that line and keeping it rock solid if you know that's the type of quarterback that you have? Then that's like. But to me, ultimately, we need to build this defense, and that was the part that was shocking yesterday. When I put that, that schematic or that layout together, and I was sitting there thinking about, like, who are the people on this defense that you can count on? You can count on Grady Jarrett. You can count on Deion Jones. You can count on AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
Rookie last year. So we're going to count on the fact that he is going to grow, right? So that's what we're going to count on.
Right. Yeah. Count on for it.
I was going to Foye and Lucan. You can count on him. Okay. So
that's hitting my eye, but if you got somebody else, that's it.
I mean, who else? Are you going to count on Dante Fowler? Are you counting on Jacob Tuto Mariner, who I can't pronounce names? Are you counting on him to coming off the bench? Yeah, sure. Give me some production, right? But a constant production threat, right? You counting on Tyler Davidson to do more than stop the run? You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm getting at here?
And you missed somebody, and I got to get him. Oh, we definitely not counting on.
Man, I never forgot he was on the team. Okay. What you talking about?
Okay, good job.
Like I didn't even put him on my deal. Like I went ahead and put Fabian in that spot because I figured. I figured, So
we might
now. Rose Stockton just put up a message or a comment that I'm reading. He says we can't fill all these holes all in one draft. Draft a QB and draft nothing but defense this year. Next year, fix the other holes while grooming your QB. That is a viable strategy. Like, dead up. What defensive player in the first round are you, like, dead up going to take? Like Micah Parsons? Like, he looks like, a good player, right? Patrick Surtain.
Right.
Patrick Surtain? Put him across from AJ Terrell?
Yep.
Jace Horn? Like, there are some players that, there ain't none of them I'm in love with at 4. But I have a thought there, too. But go ahead.
That's kind of in line with my thought. I think as much as we talk about defense, I think, if I'm honest, I think one of the biggest arguments right now with probably Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith is who's at 4. I hear a lot of the smoke. Like I said, we talk smoke screens. But I think with the debate, really, I think with Arthur Smith, I think if there's a player, if I'm honest, that I think he likes more than any other player, it may be Penei Sewell, just because he's an offensive line guy. I think we look at keeping Matt Ryan upright. That's the most important part. Like we talk about from all the times Matt Ryan gets sacked, giving Matt Ryan a safety protector. And Penei Sewell said it himself. He said, all you got to do is turn on the film. There's no other tackle in the draft that possesses what I possess, right?
Yeah, no net.
Again,
oh.
Now, when elite, best player available, I think Penei Sewell is an Arthur Smith type of guy. Nasty, mauler. Taylor Lewan with higher upside, at a minimum. But I also would say on the other side, if you're Terry Fontenot strikes me as a guy that likes a little bit of flash, if I'm honest. That's why I think that Kyle Pitts at 4, he follows them. There's some conversations where he felt pretty comfortable when he talked about it. Now, true enough, again, it's smoke screen. They might be blowing a smoke screen to Kyle Pitts. But if you talk to Kyle Pitts, he'd be surprised if a trade happened. But, like I said, that's not for him to decide. But I just think that those are the important parts where I think, we'll get defense 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. We can go, 6 defensive guys and fix see what we're talking about if we draft mostly defense. But fundamentally, I think offense right now just gives us a better chance to be urgent in one of the most competitive divisions in the NFC South. So,
I agree as far as that's what I'm loving about this draft season. Up to this point, it has been so clear cut what we should do that by this point, the draft talks, not that they got boring, they got repetitive. But every week we come in here and we talk about a potentially new scenario. And I absolutely love it. And, I not challenge y'all, but, we were starting to put together our top 10s at every position in the draft and just going through the names, on the sections that I have been allotted has me excited. Like, we get all up in arms about, not up in arms, but we get all caught up with Kyle Pitts, and there's a kid down in Miami, Brevin Jordan, who is crazy athletic. There's a kid out in Virginia, played for Virginia Cavaliers. What is his? I'm blanking on his name. Tony Poljan is his name. Super athletic. Love the way he plays the tight end position. So this is a depth-filled draft and something that I think we will have quality players. May not have necessarily a ton of superstars, but I think you're going to have a ton of solid quality contributing players throughout this whole draft at a bunch of different positions. Cindy says, I think Hayden needs a second shot. We work on the defense, but wouldn't mind grabbing Pitts. I got something for you as far as Hayden goes, right? I'm gonna throw a stat out. Let me grab my notebook here.
Yeah, throw it out.
All right, so last year, Janu Smith, right, tight end that Arthur Smith worked with. Janu Smith had 439 yards last year. Or no, not last year. Mm-hmm. Last year was 448. 439 the year before. He had targeting 65 targets and caught 8 touchdowns. Okay? Got that? 448, 65 targets, 8 touchdowns. Hayden Hurst last year, 571 yards, 88 targets, and 6 touchdowns.
Oh, man.
You got Janu Smith already on this team as far as production and the way he's used. Janu might be a little bit better of a blocker, but I think Hayden's not that bad of a blocker himself.
No, he's not.
When we talk about Arthur Smith using a lot of tight ends, it's a lot of tight ends in the running game. It's a lot of tight ends in the I'm busting a hole open for my running back. So it'd be interesting because right now you have you got Lee Smith, who is strictly a run blocker. You got Jaden Graham, who needs about another 10 pounds in his back pocket. And then you got Hayden Hurst. So there's some guys deeper in this draft that you could come in and I think could be very productive. That Tommy Trimble out of Notre Dame, that dude is a blocking fool. I haven't seen a tight end in a while that just woke up and chose violence. And that's what that man does every game day.
He offensive line-ish. He almost got it. Go ahead, Toby. Go ahead.
I'm going to say this. Those guys y'all mentioned, they don't scare nobody day one when they come into the league. I guarantee you right now, Kyle Pitts scares every cornerback, linebacker, and safety out there. He hadn't even hit the NFL field yet. For those who saying we don't know what Kyle Pitts is going to be, you is a lie. Because when I watched that film, and you plug Kyle Pitts in right now, that dude is going to have instant success. That's the reason why I said wherever he goes, I'm going to be a fan of him, not the team. Because I know this guy is going to be successful in the NFL year one, okay?
No doubt.
When you remove a guy like that playing an X wide receiver, okay, not just playing the X, you can move a lot of safety, a lot of tight ends out there that pose as an X. But a true X wide receiver that is able to perform rocket step moves on their cornerback, okay, as a 6'6", 245 tight end, knows how to already do hand combat, can run slants as a tight end just about as good as anybody. And ain't too many guys in the NFL that tall that can run pivot routes at 6'6", other than Kelsey.
Right.
Okay. And that is the big difference. You need somebody that scares you right away. And if you got him with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, that's instantaneous. I'm not coming to play today.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Right. And
I agree, Toby.
And like Russell Gage, like, don't forget about me. You know, I made a lot of plays last year for Wild Age.
And he did. And I'm sure he's saying that. But guess what? When Tony Gonzalez came over there, unfortunately for Harry Douglas,
became expendable.
He was not in the picture.
Right. Hey, I agree with everything you saying, Toby. I am not disagreeing. The guy's a beast. He's a generational guy. It just ain't no question about that. His film shows it, and I love the way you getting fired up about it. It's good to see Toby fired up like that pound. We love this now.
No, that is definitely true. We do love seeing everybody fired up. You got the chat going over here, Toby. King says, King 7 says, damn it, preach it, Toby.
Preach it, Toby.
Just saying.
No, but you're right.
And you're right.
It is.
You're right.
There are certain things you can do to help a aging quarterback and a new quarterback coming in, which is one of the reasons why I advocated for Arthur Smith to begin with. And that was because I knew he was going to have to deal with the end of Matt Ryan's career and the start of another quarterback's career. Okay. So there's things that you can do to help that transition. Tight ends and running games, okay, are a absolute friend to a quarterback at any level of play. And so, you know, if he were to pick up a Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Carter, Ramondre Stevenson, there are so many like quality backs in this draft.
Yes, sir.
That you can, you pair them with a Michael Davis for, a year or two, and then they could take over. You see what I'm saying? Like that kind of, and like you develop a solid run game, which Ryan hadn't had since Turner, really. Like you had a year with Devontae and Tevin Coleman in 2016, but outside of that, you ain't had no solid run game for the vast majority of Matt Ryan's career. You give Matt Ryan a solid run game to finish out his career and a solid run game for the start of whoever's coming in next, and that's a recipe for success, flat out.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I got it.
Success.
Right.
So, hey, Quan Glenn, you want some of that secondary power, and I do too. I want some, and I want to start in that safety room because we all know. That thing need lotion like no other. Johnson & Johnson need to get up in that safety room. Woo. We depending on a second-year guy. Now, if we put in Surtain, okay, look here, y'all. Don't get it twisted. Pound for pound, ATL is just with the options. There's as many options they got over there at Fowler Brand. We with the trade back. We with the we with all of them. Stay in that boat. We doing it. And make sure y'all be live for that draft. For sure. Yeah, make sure y'all live for that because we're going to be live. But we for it all. Don't get it twisted. We want this team to win ball games. And if I'm a secondary guy. There's no question about it. Toby tight end, JR is quarterback, and Mike is just all
man,
over
we
the
just
board,
love
really.
Mike.
But
Mike's
he
awesome.
want his, we love Mike.
We're gonna love
We're
on
gonna love
Mike.
on Mike.
He ain't made his stance. He ain't made his stance yet. But Quan Glenn, look here. If you want to load that secondary up, I'm talking after the third and fourth round. We can
Oh,
get
dude,
some good,
for
like
real.
JR said, it's some good servable guys in this draft, man.
Now straight up
Go ahead, JR.
King 7. I guess he's doing it because we done read a handful of his stuff. He tipped us $20. Thank you so much, King. We appreciate that. And then following up on his
Appreciate it,
heels, Joe Houston tipped us $5. He says, I am a Gator fan, so you know who I want at a 4. Was brought in to have a killer offense. Arthur Smith was brought in to have a killer offense. We get the rest of the 8 picks for the defense. And there's going to be, there's going to be some guys, like after the first, I've seen it said on Twitter so many times, you know, we all are getting caught up in that number 4 pick because it is that high profile pick. But there is 8 other picks after that. And we can, like I said before, looking through this draft class, there are some solid guys. You can get, like, there's a possibility that you got Javon Morig, who could potentially be at the top of the second round. You know, you got Andre Cisco, you know, that the safety, you know, that Mike almost tore his ACL coming off the train on. You know, so you could probably get him picked up. You got the safety out of Pitt, Paris Ford, you know, Javon Holland. I mean, there are a lot of solid guys in this draft. Like, I know, like I said, we get caught up and like hyper focused on that number 4 pick because it can be such a franchise changing pick.
Right.
But outside of a few positions, I don't think that there is a truly transforming type player. You got, you know, one of the QBs. You got Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, the other tackle, right? So there's a few guys, but ultimately at the end of the day, I really would love, Mike, ultimately, if you know, put me in a corner and say, all right, what do you want them to do right now? No changing. And I want them to trade down. I want them to trade down because I think for what we could really use, you have better value further down the draft. I want to collect draft capital next year so that we can then trade up and do whatever we need to do again next year. But I've been for trading down like every year. I want draft capital. You see what I'm saying? Some people be going after bands. I'm going after draft capital, okay? Because I feel like that makes you flexible in what you need to do. If there's somebody there that you want, you can go for it, right? So, all right, let's jump in here again. Slim Kid 73. Y'all are tripping. Not tripping, but y'all are posting some paragraphs, and I love it. I see Tasman done join us. What's up, Tasman? I'm glad you decided. I'm glad you decided to join us tonight. I was gonna go with Slim. I'm gonna go back to Slim, but we're gonna go with Jordan Daniel. Dude, everybody having Pitts. Having Pitts with Ridley and Julio is absolutely scary. Think about that, guys. Julio has to look up to Pitts physically wise, and that is wild, as Julio's always been a huge, you know, by wide receiver standards. That would be crazy. Slim Kid, now he said this to Tony Wright, but I'm going to go ahead and just call it out anyway. He says, you take Pitts and you can still have a number 1 offense, but we don't need the number 1 offense to win the Super Bowl. Just get 5-10 with a good defense. Ryan has proven that. Take Pitts and then go defense. I agree. Atlanta GA Faithful says, what if we trade back to Chicago at 20 and got Khalil? The only problem I have with like Khalil, like bringing that player, is you also got to fit that contract in there, right? Like how that stuff works, I'm not sure. But just in theory of getting Khalil Mack, you give Khalil Mack and then draft Aziz. Pass rush solved. Grab big time running back. next, and then later rounds grab cornerbacks and safeties. Like I said, you could turn
round, yep.
the face like the fortunes pretty quickly depending on what you do. Let's see. Fan Till Death says, I know we have the offense. We just need defense. Trade down and get a QB next year. That's the possibility. Willie Doc. What's up, Willie? Glad you
Willie
decided
Doc.
to join us tonight. Says, what's up, P3 family? Can't wait to hang out with y'all, you guys on draft night. We will catch the replay when
Looking forward to
I come out of the church prayer meeting. Oh, well, good. I hope y'all have a good meeting. He says, keep up the good work. We will try. Let's see. Jay King says, are the Falcons able to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years? If no, draft the future, purge 2016. Are we able to? Yes. Like I believe that. You get some, you make a few solid moves on the defensive side of the ball, and you can be right back in the mix. Like as it stands right now, like look, also keep in mind is something that somebody was tweeting out earlier. Like free agency isn't necessarily over, right? You're gonna have to make some more moves to free up cap to pay your draft class. So you could make necessary moves to also go out and sign. There's still some quality names out there. Daquan Jones is still out there.
Oh yeah.
Jarrell Casey's still out there.
Yeah.
So there's you could now. Granted, I will say this, like I said on Twitter, if you were going to like remake the face of this roster in free agency, you were going to have to do all these moves well before free agency. You didn't, so we are signing the type of guys that we're signing, which is about what we figured we were going to do. Like that's what we had been saying pretty much all off season leading up to free agency. Not to expect much. It's going to be a lot of depth guys. The Mike Davis signing was obviously a one that was a positive one for real. Fabian Morrow could turn out to be like the steal of the pick.
He could.
I'm still not sure that crap. What's his name? Eric Harris. No, Harris. Sheffield. Listen at you. I'm talking about free agents that we signed. You over here creeping around in the secondary room trying to cut people. Look at you. Anyway. Eric Harris, I'm still not 100% sure I think it might have been a lateral move from Ricardo to Eric Harris. Yeah, he doesn't move.
And I think you're correct, sir.
Yeah.
I think you would be correct on that because I felt the same way. I thought that was because you got a slightly bigger guy in Eric Harris than you do in Ricardo Allen, but they essentially, to me, the same player. They just
Harris obviously cost you a lot less. You saved, cap space and stuff like that by getting rid of Ricardo, but I don't think he's necessarily locked down as the starter. I mean, he's a starter right now, right next to Jalen Hawkins, who isn't getting much attention as it speaks right now. But he could come in and be a force with Dean Pease. Hawkins is a guy who he's one of the guys that is on this roster that I'm excited about. There's a handful of guys, Jalen Hawkins, Marlon Davison. I'm real interested to see what Dean Pease does with Davison and John Kaminsky. Can John Kaminsky keep developing? That's the one of the guys who I'm also interested in seeing. Okay, Byron Bell says we should use assets gained for trade downs to grab a QB in later years. Look at Miami. With all their resources, we could trade some of the spoils from this year in a year or two. And that's something that you have to keep in mind, right? Is you make a trade down, like say, you make your trade now, trade out of it, pick up the necessary draft picks or what have you, and then next year or the year after when some of these QBs come out every year, folks. Like these ain't the last 4 QBs that are ever going 5 QBs if you want to include Mac Jones, who now somehow got into the conversation of being picked at 3 for some reason.
Oh, man, please.
Exactly.
Man, please.
Talk about, man, if I'm going to go ahead and call it. On a complete other side note, now that I brought that back up to my brain, if Kyle Shanahan takes Mac Jones at 3, I don't want to hear no more talk about him being some kind of genius.
He's done. If he do that, he's done. You can take Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. I'm not feeling that.
Either.
Kind of throw them to those smoke
all right,
guys.
Joe Houston says, I have a question for the panel. Oh, yeah, we're a panel now. You hear that, gentlemen? I like it.
Panel now?
He says, do you think Arthur Smith went to Arthur Blank? There's a lot of Arthurs going on here. Went to Arthur Blank and asked to look at Shanahan's playbook. And if so, would he implement his playbook? Now, that's an interesting thing. I've heard, like, when we first hired Arthur Smith, I heard a lot of, like, we're going to go back to the, Shanahan style of offense and stuff. And I went and looked, like, as I watched it, and, hey, you can call me an idiot. That's fine. You're allowed to. But I don't necessarily see a ton of similarities from Shanahan to what Arthur Smith did up in Tennessee. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but it seems like, Arthur Smith is very, very much. Now, this could be just because of the roster he had. These are also the things that you got to think about when you're trying to, like, dissect somebody's scheme. How much of their scheme was built and dependent on the roster they had, right? You have Derrick Henry, so let's formulate an offense that uses Derrick Henry to the fullest of his ability. What do you need to do that? Let's open up as many holes as possible because that dude's a juggernaut. He gets moving, you can't take him down, right? So now we go tight end heavy, open up holes. So now he comes down here, doesn't have a Derrick Henry, but has Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and possibly Kyle Pitts. So does he change the way his offense looks? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because he mentioned this that when him and Terry Fontenot had a presser together, okay, he mentioned that the strength is looking like right now is that wide receiver and not that running back, and it's still at wide receiver because Mike Davis is a great pickup. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But the 7 guys you got right now, including the tight ends around Matt Ryan, is still your strong point at the wide receiver group. So don't be shocked if it's built more around what his receivers can do than what the tight ends could do as he had over in Tennessee. That's the aspect
that initially when I set out during the season after we fired Dan Quinn and I set out to profile head coaches or potential head coaches, that was one of the things that I was looking for, was a head coach that I felt like could be adaptable. And that's what I feel like with Arthur Smith. I feel like he could be adaptable to the roster that he has, right?
Yeah,
right. Now, all this being said, Mike Dub, you're extremely quiet over there, and I don't like it.
What are you doing,
pondering,
Mike?
ain't
What
you?
you doing, Mike?
You about to hit me with something big, ain't you? I'm putting him on the spot, John.
No,
he's like, I ain't got nothing. Leave me alone.
No, not at all. Hey, listen, I'm only Mike Dub when I talk. When I listen, I'm a fan because y'all over here dropping jewels. Toby D. Once Toby D got fired up, man, I had to just sit there and watch. I got
fired up. All of us do
because the way he and I are locked up on Kyle Pitts right now, it's a quiet confidence right now. I'm quiet because I'm confident. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, to be honest with you, I hear you on the trade back. I hear you on the trade down scenarios. I hear it all. But I do think that Terry F. knows talent. He's a scout at heart. He sees generational talent. He knows that Arthur Smith's strength is 2 tight ends. We're strength at receiver. And he knows that, hey, we don't have to do much to mess that up. But his strength is he knows what to do with 2 tight ends. And I like the touchdown ratios. But again, man, because we lost so many close games, I just want us a guy that can help us in the red zone. And we can worry about defense. Because I'm going to tell you something. The less the defense is on the field anyway, you know what I mean? And we moving and we controlling, and that time of possession is working in our favor. Because, hey, you don't get many possessions in the NFL. We talk about it like, Matt Ryan just gets the ball every couple of minutes. Like, a lot of times these drives are long, man. So if we the ones imposing our will to be honest with you, I'm at a point where I'll impose my will, and trust me, we profile edge rushers. There's a lot of good edge rushers in the second round, third round. Jalen Phillips, all those kind of guys. We can get to that. And Dean Pease is here out of retirement for a reason. He saw that porous defense. We know the defense is horrible. The defense is horrible, but he doesn't think it's horrible enough to put his health at risk and not come back.
No, I got you.
That's all I got.
Arthur Smith said that Dean Pease called
That's
him.
it. That does.
That tells you something.
Let's see. Jay King says, if we think we are a possible Super Bowl team for the next 2 years under Ryan, then we won't be in the top 10 for the draft. Would you find Ryan's replacement in free agency or the draft, or burn a year? I mean, like, again, we are all like, all these conversations right there are under the assumption that any quarterback you draft in this draft is going to be a 10-year starter. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. Right. Nobody knows that about any draft. Like any draft, any position whatsoever. So I have a tough time assuming that Justin Fields is going to be a 10-year starter. A Trey Lance is going to be a 10-year starter. A Trevor Lawrence is going to be a 10-year starter. Right. You don't know. Like, nobody knows until we go, right? Who knew Joe Flacco? I mean, dead up. Delaware. Come on. Ben Roethlisberger, Miami of Ohio. Please. All right. Bug says, hi, guys. Hi, Bug. How are you? Yeah, she's in enemy territory this week, y'all. Yeah. Y'all got to pray for her. She's in enemy. She's going to make it out alive. Anyway, Slim Kid says, thank you. Finally, Aints won a Super Bowl with a trash D, but the D blitzed and got turnovers. With Pitts, it's just too much offense. Take Pitts and just keep adding to the defense. Pitts is a monster. That is as viable as taking a quarterback, in my opinion. Now, I'm gonna drop something, and I'm gonna see if y'all might laugh me right off the set. Like we got a set here. Anyway, y'all may laugh me right off the panel. I am starting to change my mind and change my opinion on draft position. And what I mean by that is Kyle Pitts has me really thinking about, do you take a tight end at 4? And I've come to the conclusion that I don't care who you take where. If it's the guy you want, and if it's the guy you think is going to help your team, what does it matter what capital you give up to get it, right?
Right.
Like, outside of Mike Ditka training away an entire draft class for one running back, outside of that, which I could definitely see, couldn't y'all see Bill Belichick doing that? Trading the entire draft class just to come up to number 4? Anyway, I could see him doing that. He don't ever value the draft. So what I'm getting at is, a lot of people feel like it's too high to take a tight end. If it's a generational player, it's a generational player. You know, if we were talking about a center here, you know, everybody's go, you can get a center in the second or third round. Well, if this is the center that you're going to have for the next 12, 14 years, Jason Kelsey? Was ain't that who it was up in Philadelphia?
Yeah, Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey.
So, I mean, that dude was there forever, right? So, if it's the guy and you feel confident in it, then take him. I don't care what it'll be. Jordan Daniels says, I'm scared Pitts won't be there at 4. I have a bad feeling about San Francisco. Hey, they just signed another quarterback today, Nate Sudfeld. So maybe.
Yeah, they just paid George Kittle.
I don't see it either.
I don't see that.
I mean, I will say this, even after that speech, like that I just gave, you don't give up that much draft capital and not take the most important position on the field, right?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it is an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, boy.
So
what in the world?
we were definitely rolling. The chat is rolling for sure, which I am loving.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna run through a few more. We're gonna run through a few more. Quan Glenn says, "What's up?"
Run through a few more.
Okay.
I say run through a few more.
They
paragraph.
Yeah, man. Hey.
So it says, Quan Glenn says, we lost 7 to 8 games by 7 points or less. It's a combination of lack of efficiency, the ability to close out on offense, and not being able to get stops on defense. If half of those games go our way, we were 8-8. That's the thing. You know, that's how close it is in the NFL. That's that in that aspect,
Right.
you can turn the fortune of your franchise around pretty quickly, right? I mean, just look at the Browns under Kevin Siniski, whatever his name is. Like, they finally went to the playoffs, right? So, Tony Wright says, true dat the champ. All right. Right on. GA Text Boy says, so that means Surtain could be that pick at 4. Pedigree. If they feel like it is, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, what you got?
Humble question. No.
Oh, he's
4. Number 4? No. Number 4? No. I'm not gonna go with that guy.
Well, hold on, Big Mike. Now, if
I'm sorry.
you
Let's
want
go.
to take out this at 4, why can't they take?
I'm just
back
saying.
Surtain now? Hey, look, man. Everybody's entitled, man. You know, hey, we got gotta let everybody have their the
You're
entitlement
right.
now.
All right. Hey, you know what? If we got Surtain there for you, right? But you know what? I'll be a typical Falcons fan. I'm like, Surtain, no. And then I think about highlights. And I say his dad played in the league.
Yeah,
And,
no, you
he
talk
got
yourself
pretty good
into it real
technique.
quick, wouldn't you, Mike?
Hey, exactly. And then, I thought it was in and out of his breaks. And, yeah, you're right, man. You know what? Hey, listen, Surtain, we'll take him at 4. Honestly, if they there at 4 and they want to be Atlanta Falcon, hey, and they buy into our system, that's another thing. We talk about all this stuff. They look good on tape,
That's
but they
it.
got to buy into this system because Arthur
Yep.
Smith going to have a way of doing things.
Let's see.
So
Rise Up says no defensive players worth the top 10 pick. I kind of agree, but if they feel heavily about it, I'm not going to lose my mind. Chris Jameson says QB Pitts or Sewell at 4 only. That's kind of where I'm at. Well, you then that's at 4, and then you could add trade down on the end of it. Tony Wright says Mr. Spotlight Jerry Jones stated today that he would trade up to draft Kyle Pitts. So I say let's make a deal. There you go.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? Hey, listen. If that's what happens, as long as this draft turns out good,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. Like one of our Twitter buddies last night had a nice mock draft, and I was like, hey, if you pull off a draft like this, I'm okay with not getting Kyle Pitts, but it
All
better
right.
be got doggone good.
Yeah.
Right
Rizzo
now.
says I feel like we have a good run game. We have a good run game with Kyle Pitts, so we could control the tempo. We can really be, Super Bowl contenders. So many close games last season we lost, and that's going to be one of the narratives, right? But anyway, gentlemen, we done it yet again. We have that's right.
Yeah,
We have bumped up well over an hour. We're at about an hour and 15 now. So
Let me get
What you got?
Let me get one more, Jr. That was Dre from Dre True Statement. He said, "Can we get anything for Deidre Sanat?" I think he called him the Deadline Senate instead of Deidre Sanat. But I thought that was pretty.
look,
Hey, look at Dre. He called him Deadline Senate,
Deidre.
but I know he was talking about Deidre Sanat. We can't get nothing
No,
for him
he
because
ain't
he ain't
got
got no film. True Statement. He
Like
ain't got
that,
nothing to show for it. So
like
we ain't
that,
gonna
what did
get that for him.
Carolina give
We ain't getting
for Sam Darnold? Like it wasn't even a first, was it? Like it was picks next year.
Uh-uh.
So yeah,
Well,
we ain't getting nothing from
Yeah.
Sanat. He's carrying
Yeah, he
equipment.
ain't got
That's
no
all he's
film.
doing. So
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, True
That's
Statement,
it.
but we ain't getting that.
All
I'm sorry.
as always, folks, y'all can catch us on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Jimmy.
You can catch me on Twitter at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA, and we will see y'all on that live
right.
draft show. We will be live. Toby.
Toby D 1991. TOBYD 1991.
Hey, man. Your boy Mike Duh, MIKE_DUB. We're getting close to
Always
draft
getting
time.
there.
It's almost
getting
that time to figure out who's going to have a Falcons helmet, and we're gonna be here to give it to you.
All right,
JR,
people, we appreciate y'all catching up with us. We will be back live again next week around the same time, 7 o'clock. Keep an eye on the channel. We may drop some videos. We appreciate all y'all support last week, watching the videos that we dropped. We thank y'all for that. And as always, Falcons
Yes,
fans,
sir.
rise up.
Rise up.